Welcome to week 1. In 4400, each student will choose a potentially vulnerable population on which you'll focus the next 14 weeks. So what you'll do in this first assignment is look down at this list, and there's a pretty hefty list, definitely more than there are students in this section, of potentially vulnerable populations. And this means potentially vulnerable in terms of health outcomes and health access. So you'll see these categories overall, such as parents with greater risk. Underneath it, there's groups such as single parents with multiple children, minors who are parents or pregnant, grandparents raising grandchildren, foster care families, etc. What you're going to do is choose one of the bullet points underneath one of these categories. So you're only choosing one population overall, anywhere within that. So choose a population that you are interested in. It can be a population that you identify with, that is close to your family, that you are curious about, that you've never met. The only thing you need to keep in mind as you choose a population is that you will need to do some contact hours later on the semester. So please make sure that this is a population that you do have access to or can find access to. For some of these, such as refugee, it may involve needing to drive down a little ways, such as Salt Lake City. Also, if you do choose a population that is incredibly close to you personally, either you identify as part of this population or historically have, or members of your family. This is a very common thing. We frequently have students choose a population that's very personally close to them. Just take a peek ahead of the assignment and make sure that by doing this assignment, it would be something that would be beneficial to you and therapeutic. Our goal is never to have students in a really difficult place where emotionally this becomes a very burdensome class. So just keep that in mind as you go through. Choose one population of interest, and then what you're going to do is in the discussion page, you need to go in and enter your population as soon as possible. This is first come, first serve. You also need to go in and put 1 or 2 paragraphs about why you've selected that population. If you're worried that someone else is going to select the population that you want, you can go in and claim it first, and then go back in after the fact and add your paragraphs down below at a later time, still before the deadline. Please make sure that you have reviewed the entire list to make sure that your population that you select hasn't already been selected by someone else. If when you do your 1 to 2 paragraph explanation, if it's something that was incredibly personal, painful, or sensitive in nature, then please reach out. If you're not comfortable with posting it on the main page, please reach out to your instructor and let them know, just so that we're all better able to guide you through this course. If you do that, please do the Canvas email to make sure that they get it. Also, you'll see that there's a portion of an upcoming assignment that's linked back to this content. And so when you click on this link, it will take you over to the assignment here, which is called the Vulnerable Populations Health Concerns Assignment. It's not due until week 5, but you'll see that in the very first part, it recommends to do this weeks 1 and 2. I understand it looks kind of like week 1/2, but weeks 1 and 2. So in that time, you need to indicate your population. You need to provide a brief description, including the history if appropriate. This is not a long-term paper. This is going to be on slides. We'll look at that here in just a second. Tell what makes this population vulnerable for increased health disparities. And then also indicate the size of the population locally, statewide, nationally, and internationally. You do, because you're going to have exact numbers in there, need to provide citations and references. If the population in Utah is smaller or larger than the national population, then I want you to go in and give an explanation for why that may be the case. There's usually quite a few contributing factors that go into numbers like that. So look per capita at what those rates look like compared to the national average. The week 4 content and week 5 content, you don't have to look at too much just yet, but do look and see that the overall project here that you're adding to is a PowerPoint presentation that you are then going to be doing an audio narration from. There is a template in here that you can click on. It will open up a PowerPoint presentation that already has the slide names on it. So this would just kind of fit in with that first few applicable slides. So that is the component that you need to do as part of this week 1 assignment, is going in and putting that information. If you are in the hybrid class, then some of this we will also be discussing in our face-to-face time week 2. Whether you are hybrid or you are an online-only student, for each assignment you always see there's a resource page that can provide more information that you may want to use as you complete your assignment. Now, as the semester goes forward, you will be given an opportunity later on to partner with others. Group work in this class is optional, but there's quite a bit of work, so being in groups of 2 to 4 can help it not only distributes the workload a little more evenly, but it'll give you a lot more well-rounded view of the needs of these populations. When you form those groups later on, you can either form them under categories. So for example, survivors could be a category, and the individual who chose domestic abuse, sexual assault, battery, traumatic events, and or human trafficking could work together. 2 to 4 people, not all of these will be taken. If you choose something and no one else chooses it and you want to work with someone, you need to let your instructor know at the end of the week, and we'll kind of see what we can do. If you do not choose a group under a category, that's fine, but you can also clear through your instructor other possibilities that have like a reasonable Venn diagram. That's those overlapping circles. So if, for example, you one individual in the course has chosen the veteran population, and another person in the group has chosen the homeless elderly population, there is enough of an overlap. There's certainly many veterans who are not homeless, and there's certainly many homeless people who are not veterans, but there's enough of an overlap in the middle of that Venn diagram that that is a population within itself of homeless veterans. That could be the focus. If you do create those groups across headings, please make sure that that is a group that will actually work. You are strongly encouraged to get those approved by your professors, as they know what the upcoming assignments are and want to make sure that you will be successful in all of that. If you do live quite a ways away and you truly have extenuating circumstances, this is not just convenience, but truly extenuating circumstances, where you'd like to work with a person from another section, the only way that would ever be possible is if you have both professors approve of that first. So you need to reach out to professors from both sections and get that approved. Otherwise, that is not an option. So please go in and look. Make sure you choose a population that you are comfortable with exploring over the next 14 weeks. You will dig fairly deep on these populations. And so I look forward to seeing what you all come up with, but make sure you go in and claim those as soon as possible.